Hi, time for another episode of the Thought Project. Just so you know, and it's the last episode of August 2023. We're starting with Aaliyah's Are You That Somebody?
I've been watching you like the hawk in the sky. I put you on my prey. Boy, I promise you, if we keep bumping heads, I know that one of these days we gon' hook it up, probably talk on the phone. But see, I don't know if that's good. I've been holding back this secret from you. I probably shouldn't tell it if I let you know. You can't tell nobody, I'm talking about nobody. Are you responsible? Boy, I gotta watch my body, so I'm not just saying it all. Is it my goal? Is it your goal? Sometimes I'm worried, right now I'm not enough. Say yes or say no, 'cause I really need somebody. Tell you that somebody. Boy, won't you pick me up?
Okay, so that's enough of that for today. We're at the end of the Thought Project, just so you know. We're going to start out with the issue with China. Earlier this week, President Biden's Secretary of Commerce, U.S. Commerce Secretary, said that she was meeting with officials in Beijing and Shanghai. I'm just totally disgusted. Ugh, allergies bother me. This woman, Gina Raimondo, is making a big deal about how we're all supposed to be spending a bunch of time talking to China about technologies and there's this big economy. No, they're not. They're not. The one thing China does that I know of is fentanyl. I don't know who this woman is supposed to be, but I actually like some people in the Biden administration. I don't like her. And she's released recent statements in the last 14 hours talking about how we're supposed to be busy with China and their big economy. Well, last weekend, we lost actual U.S. servicemen during exercises when China and Russia's navies were out in the Pacific. No. This woman is no. Just one big no. Whatever she's talking about, it's a no. I'm done with her. Moving on. Pope Francis of the Catholic Church is in trouble for telling Russian Catholics that basically he told a group of Russian Catholics that they were to be proud of being descendants of Mother Russia, which observers said was very similar to comments made by Putin. I would agree. I'm very sorry if you're Catholic and you're offended by him or not offended by him, but that's horrible. And it makes the Catholic Church look really bad. Chairman Darrell Issa notably took down the FTC chair, Lena Khan, on issues around a company unnamed that she made concessions for, and she has been asking for a $169 million budget increase. I would say no. The company in question actually sounds like the bizarre umbrella corporation out in Los Angeles that was founded with my father's money and money stolen from me and a whole bunch of other people, that is run by Russian intel, essentially, and Russian mafia. That needs to be shut down, although it is its own bizarre prison at this point with people through weird contracts and international law, but I'm still waiting to see them actually get prosecuted and shut down by just somebody like anybody. Notably, Newsweek said on Monday that the Russian embassy has released a map recognizing Crimea as belonging to the Ukraine. I haven't seen double sourcing on this, second or third, but they did release that. It was the same day that a terrorist attack was reported as happening at night from... They're saying it came from Kiev, Ukraine, using drones. The media project Nexta posted the video, and Moscow has confirmed it in the Russian Ministry of Defense that it came from the Ukraine. I don't know if that's actually true. It could be an attempt at sympathy of some sort, but essentially they have now recognized Crimea as belonging to the Ukraine, according to Newsweek. So we will see what happens with that and if that's actually going to continue to be true or seen as true. There is a new government recommendation coming out. It hasn't been finalized yet from the USDA, saying that the drink maximum will go to per week as 2 as opposed to 2 per day. That's like the Canadian government only recommends 2 per week. Notably, they are not talking about prohibition. Please don't freak out. I saw a few people already got upset and thought that everyone was going to start to take away their drinks. Notably, if you were somebody who works in healthcare, you might want to be too heavy-handed about that. Remember, it's just a recommendation. It's not a law. They're just saying you might want to try doing 2 drinks a week. Times are hard. People are stressed. I don't think, everybody knows it's not worth it to go back to prohibition. I think a lot of people learned. People certainly asked me about this on policy. I said, you do not want to do prohibition again. That was just too crazy and dumb. and it's not worth anyone's time or money, especially when you have real problems to deal with. And the reality is that the American people are at a point where they're just totally fed up. They don't care about Taylor Swift doing another concert with fake stolen material or people being trafficked. They don't want more of J.Lo, and they really don't want more fentanyl. So, the drug addiction and behavioral disorders issues are kind of out of control, and nobody's really interested in more of that. Going back to prohibition would be completely ridiculous and dumb. Nobody's going to support it. So, anyways, moving on. Let's see. I want to note for you that green and black for Halloween late summer is a trend right now. I actually got into green, like neon green, back in the spring when I was still in Charlottesville. I had this in my car and I had black. And I noticed it was picked up. I had went out and got a green and black bag for Halloween earlier this month, beginning of the month. I got myself some green and black nail polish. I got all this stuff together. It's really cute. And then I got this for $1.50 garage sale. Next thing I know, Ciara and the singer Ciara and now Kylie Minogue have come out with new album promos that are green and black. So that's really cute. But that's kind of the thing right now. It should last for a little bit if you're trying to invest. That's a fashion item. Moving on. We need to go back to the issue around so let's look at something here with Fredward. You're kind of probably wondering why and how I was able to finally confront him. So John Ashcroft in the 2000s really went after the issue and started cleaning out Russian assets from the Department of Justice. There's actually an entire film made that's completely false called Breach, which is totally unrealistic, except for the part about one of the women in it actually microwaving and trying to kill people, the D.O.J. That actually happened. And that was because of Anne. Anne was doing that. She betrayed the FBI and DIA. She whether were spies in U.S. history, and she ended up in prison for at least 10 years. Don't ask me why she was let out. But here's the problem. Fredward came to me and was demanding more free material. And by that point, the DOJ in the early 2010s, they cleaned out enough assets, gotten things organized enough. The one guy I knew over there said, I want to blame you for this. Or, I referenced a previous episode of Job there. He said, truthfully, he really didn't, but they had to prove the KGB, FSB issues. And something had to be done about this woman, Anne. I'm calling her Anne as an alias. Now, here's the thing. I was able to actually go to Fredward and say, guess what? The women at the DOJ don't care anymore. All the ones who did care have been fired or they're in prison and go away. And I actually got to put him through an investigation and got to get him to go away from me permanently. And I got to even go tell him off in 2019 again, just for fun. It was like self-actualization. I don't owe you free labor. Go away. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about J.Lo or Taylor Swift or these stupid people that are just spoiled Russian princesses pretending to be some other group, hanging out in the U.S., wanting free material. Nobody cares. Go away. DOJ is not going to back you up on it. Now, what I really like the DOJ to do is move ahead then and actually prosecute some of these people for their labor trafficking and bad behaviors. And if that's not going to be the DOJ, then somebody else. Because really, just move on. I can't believe my own government let me do that much work for free and didn't care about me getting paid for it. Because they really didn't. So, and that's still something that hasn't been resolved. Now, we're going to talk about J.Lo for a minute because it's kind of important. One of the beef that a lot of people have with the DOJ and J.Lo is that she's been protected because she and P. Diddy did commit murder back in the late 90s, and it had to do with her being KGB, FSB. And there's been way too much of an attitude of being very cavalier about it. And I'm telling you this because, hold on, one of the guys I knew who actually was from Luther College, who supposed to be working for the DOJ or whatever. I think he may have been to be fired because he was literally going around telling people that, nobody cares, KGB, blah, blah. We're all supposed to be like over it and just, whatever, just how it is. No, it's not. They're not welcome in this country. They support Russia. And it's over important to know that at one point I was dealing with Buffalo Bill, so you've got Patricia, Buffalo Bill, Dan, Kendrick, Cersei, Wilhelm, all Russian, all KGB, all spoiled oligarchs, expect to be able to do what they want. Work with Taylor Swift and J.Lo. Here's the point. J.Lo is a Russian oligarch, basically. Kendrick told me years ago that he was going to use my face and run it over hers so she didn't look Russian. They've been photoshopping her for years. Her fans have finally turned on her over the photoshopping. It took over 20 years for them to turn on her, but they're finally doing it now, and it's about time. Now, here's the issue. J.Lo and P. Diddy still have a relationship. This thing with saying she was with Ben Affleck isn't really true. Why do I know that? Because I really went through all of this, people. It really happened. And one of the best days of my life was looking at Fredward and saying, nobody the DOJ cares, nobody the U.S. government cares about you getting free stuff. Go away. Go away. Losers, go away. And, I worked with two guys that I thought were Ron Paul people in the political world. Found out later one was Brazilian. But it was his idea, along with another woman who was older, that actually was Brazilian intel, who said, to start calling them losers who don't have money. That's what you do. Say, ugh, losers. Losers. So here's the thing. J.Lo's wedding was at an actual plantation in Georgia to Ben Affleck. Why do you think she picked a plantation? This is a woman who's openly stated that she wants to have slaves. She was using signet systems from Russia to bring people here. Why do you think they're bringing citizens? Citizens can't be enslaved as easily, right? Like, I'm a U.S. citizen. They had a hard time with me, right? Got pretty far, but had a hard time. Illegal immigrants are not citizens. They don't have the same rights. So that's why they're trying to bring so many of them in on top of just plain out attacking the U.S. They're trying to bring people here who don't have any rights to violate and use as slaves. She had the wedding at a plantation because she is a modern plantation slave owner. That's how she sees herself. That's who she is. There's been a long history of Russians living in the southern part of the U.S. running plantations. It was actually a problem during the Civil War. Some people argue that our Civil War was not actually a civil war about slavery, but it was about stupid Russian people living in the southern part of the U.S. owning slaves. Okay? That's an actual issue. Deal with it. So tired of this. When I was in my 20s or late teens, I was asked to do something with P. Diddy because of his issues. And some girl I went to school with at Parker High School said, why don't we say Diddy P? Call him, P. Diddy, is what I said about it. I said, instead of saying Diddy P, we'll just call him P. Diddy, but we all know it means we're being stupid and like, Diddy P? Diddy P, can he pee? Can he urinate? Not thinking of get that right. We couldn't come up with anything better. It's a small thing to do for, the actual black community because of the loss of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. I know I'm going around this huge circuit, but I want you to understand how it all plays together. Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur were not Russian. They don't have Russian ancestry. That's why P. Diddy wanted them dead. Now, what was creepy about his performance at MTV? Because P. Diddy did this big performance. It was supposed to be Faith Hill and this whole thing. Had, Sting out there performing. Picked the creepiest song ever, Every Breath You Take. It really did creep people out. Good performance, creepy performance. Obviously, P. Diddy is someone who's extremely disassociative, and I have no problem seeing that he's actually quite literally somebody that's a part of the whole Russian Mafia, CCP, crazy disassociative, whack job at KGB, stuff. Obviously a programmed weirdo. Obviously. Now, I'm going to go through one more issue we need to discuss here. But the point about it is way past time for J.Lo to be prosecuted and to go. Like, she can either go back to Russia, or she can leave the U.S., or she can be prosecuted and put in prison. I don't care. But woman has trafficked way too many people and been too disgusting. And it's time for her to leave. Now, I'm going to go back to another story that we kind of discussed briefly. In the last episode, we discussed the woman I knew who was running the fake women's organization in D.C. She's still supposed to be running it today. She's actually Kendrick's brother. She's not a woman. She kind of looks like a woman. She's not. She's a man. And I know everyone wants to argue and talk about how they identify. The point is, she started her life as a man and was living as a woman. And you have to understand that it's not really okay to cite gender as excuse for stalking and murdering people or stealing from them. You can't cite your gender, can't cite your religion, can't cite your sexual orientation. Can't cite any of those things as an excuse for stalking and murdering people or stealing. They're not acceptable behaviors, no matter what is going on. So at best, you're going to get labeled as having a behavioral disorder or needing treatment or even being institutionalized. That's the best deal you're going to get. Now, this woman, I'm going to call her a woman now because she's living as a woman, but she was dating a guy that I was friends with, really nice guy, and she made up stories about him and said that he was a Democrat and was totally unreasonable and he was running away from her. And she tried to paint herself as this lovely Republican woman who was really refined, and he was just a stupid, crazy person running away from her. Much like I ran away from Kendrick, her brother, on K Street, or his brother on K Street, however you want to put it, him, her. And so the story isn't actually that, because she's KGB, FSB. She was using Russian signet systems on him and beating him up. So it was actually a story of a man beating up another man with Russian signet systems and the poor guy running away to save his own life. Not the story of a Democrat being completely unreasonable with a Republican. Remember that, because I'm not going to let anybody try to make it a political story when it's very clearly an overt issue with a Russian man attacking another man from the U.S. who ran a tech company and who might actually, today, for all we know, be saving us all from being killed by these idiots. So his mom actually came to me and she said, I wish he could date you. I said, well, I'm with Cersei and Wilhelm, so I actually can't date him. I'm stuck dealing with them and their craziness. And Frankly, I was dealing with the man that he was supposedly dating that was running this fake women's group, calling me up and threatening to kill me and saying I didn't have any right to separate them and that she was never going to go away and that I couldn't get rid of her. And of course I did, even defriended her off of Facebook finally. And, that was a long process. But in his case, to his credit, he has a very nice mom and dad. And his mom was a journalist who was really up on the issues. So she wanted to do something about all of it. That kind of pivotally changed things for me, too. So by being a decent person, looking beyond politics, thinking things through, that's who I am. I'm the woman who can kind of help you with those things. I can help you talk through these issues, even if I can't, change the world or change how some of these people are. Notably, we need to talk about something else really quickly here. Taylor Swift is trying to gather sympathy for herself by throwing temper tantrums, although she's supposed to have had this fantastic, wonderful world tour. It's not such a wonderful world tour, obviously, or she wouldn't be acting like this. She's now trying to get everyone to feel sorry for her and bringing up Kanye West all over again. How pathetic can you get? The woman has stolen all of her material. She has no new material. She's currently in fights over her albums. Her fans are turning on her, duly and rightfully so. And here's the thing. She's a Russian princess, and Buffalo Bill used to talk about her. He said, well, she's Russian. She has to have everything for free. Aren't you jealous? You're supposed to feel bad. I'm like, well, of course I feel bad. I'm listening to you, and you sound gross. I feel like I'm going to vomit listening to this. And what you're telling me is that you think, even though you're in the U.S., that these Russian women are supposed to be fake pop performers and ultimate acts of narcissism on stage, performing music that isn't theirs. They're not really performing. They're not really singing. And they're terrible. And people, in some cases, are being forced to put up with them or forced to work for them for free so they can be active slave owners. Just give her a plantation already. Seriously, don't give her a plantation. But I'm saying she's a modern plantation owner, honey. So that's what you gotta know about her. And don't reward her and don't feel sorry for her. Kanye West did us all a favor by making fun of her. The only problem is I think he might have inadvertently got her more attention. The best thing you can do with Taylor Swift is treat her like the loser she is and simply ignore her. Because that's what she is. She's just a loser. So anyways, I'm going to finish the show by singing Adele's Rolling the Deep. Unfortunately, that was yet another song that I originally wrote. Let's see if I can get through this. Hold on a second.
Switch to Google
Oh, no. Hold on. No ads in my show. Don't you do that to me. You have no right to run ads on my show. This is my show. Do you like seeing my Zed up close? All right, hold on, I got this. Ha ha ha. See, you turn the sound off, then you let the ad play, and you hit skip ad, and they can't run the ad in your show. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So anyways, you like the other side? The other side's cuter. There's no acne. Woohoo! Here we go. I'm going to sing Rolling the Deep by Adele. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out and all your shit bare. See how I'll leave with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. Tears of fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. The scars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, and you played it to the beat. Baby, I have no story to be told, but I've heard one on you, and I'm gonna make your head burn. Think of me in the depths of your despair. Make a home down there, as much it won't be shared. The scars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Rolling in the deep. You could have had it all, rolling in the deep. You had my heart inside of your hands, but you played it with a beating. Throw your soul through every open door. Count your blessings to find what you look for. Turn my sorrow into treasured gold. You'll pay me back in kind and reap just what you've sown. We could have had it all. We could have had it all. It all, it all, it all. We could have had it all. Rolling in the deep. You had my heart inside of your hand, and you played it to the beat. You could have had it all, rolling in the deep. You had my heart inside your hands, but you played it to the beat. And that is the show for today. That was a thought project, just so you know, saying goodbye to August. And I hope you're all doing really well wherever you're at. Thank you.